Hi, this is Ty the Art Guy, and here's another watercolor demonstration. Today's watercolor demonstration is a farmhouse. I have this commission for a friend of ours, and she wanted me to do a watercolor of her family's farmhouse. This is a family farmhouse that's gone generation to generation, and here we go with a watercolor of this. This will be a lot of fun. This is pretty simple stuff. This is like every demonstration of watercolor ever, I think. There's been a million. In college, you would fail a photography class if you took a black and white photo of a farmhouse and submitted it. So, you know what I mean. Here we go, though. This is going to be great. We're going to put a little attitude. We're going to put a little style to it. We're going to put some impressionism to this. I just want to convey a warm, comfortable, safe family farmhouse. Man, gosh, I kind of model our home here in Florida like that. We have a quaint little garden and things like that. So here's the deal. I probably put some perspective points, some vanishing points off to the side of the paper. And I got to put the fence in. You got to have a fence if you're going to have a farm. And my photograph, the farm was the fence was newer. It was 2x4s. Here I am going to just gesture. Everybody that knows me knows that I am not a technician. When it comes to drawing and illustration, I go with flow, and I kind of shoot more of a feel, and I'm a scribbler. I'm a serious scribbler. Learned from somebody way back when I was a kid in high school that you can be a gesture sketching person and be just as good as the artist that uses the straight edge and tables and perspective points and such, rulers and Anyway, so let's draw. I got carried away there. Let me catch up. The farmhouse itself is the shapes. We all understand how important shapes are. If you need me to, I will do demonstrations on these very basic principles, but today we're doing a farmhouse. The tree, let's talk about this. I'm going to do, I'm kind of following along. This is kind of like my contour drawing background that makes me follow along to these things. And the trees I'm not going to do fully, even though the photo was of a winter scene. There were no leaves on the trees. I am just going to get the gestural idea of where these branches are going to go in this sketch. And then we move along the horizon line. We do everything else. Again, shapes are very important. You don't have to be very specific right here. And I like that I had these different little scribblings here about. It kind of gives it a little bit more of an attitude. Here we are with Mr. Spray Gun. This is a basic spray bottle. It's got pure water in it. Too bad the water didn't show up, but I'm just kind of zapping areas. You'll see as the paint kind of flows with the water. Here we go. This is a cadmium yellow. It's going to be just around sunset, and, you know, that kind of thing. A nice soft evening set. Like right now we are overcast and slightly soft rain going on. This is a beautiful Sunday, by the way. Cadmium red and then some alizarin crimson comes in to do that separation and get that little sunset evening dawns upon us kind of thing, or as you wish. That was probably cerulean blue. That's a Winsor Newton cerulean blue, by the way. I'll talk about that in a second. I'm going to take the yellow and come on down and get some warmth on the ground, and then I'm going to start with a light green and just dapple around here. I'm just creating the mood. I'm kind of making some ideas of where the depth of the picture will go so I can guide the viewer's eye to those areas. And you just kind of control with color. You're kind of inviting the viewer to follow along with you by creating depth and tones and warmth and cool colors. Makes it playful for the viewer to look at, which causes that pleasant feeling at looking at art. Ta-da! Viridian green here. As I'm talking about when you see me do the trees in a viridian green, I'll go back to this blue. I've been playing with some cerulean blues lately. Different manufacturers have different pigments and treatments of their pigments. For instance, I have a Van Gogh cerulean blue, and it's very opaque. It's almost like it's got titanium white or something in it. I don't know. But I like it sometimes because it can cover up some stuff, and you want a very solid cerulean color. Winsor Newton cerulean is a little more transparent. It's got some opacity. I mean, it's not very opaque, transparent, and it has a nice brightness to it. I really like the brightness. I wish I had that when I was around in Central America, but I just recently added that to my palette. Excuse me. Alright, so you see with the Viridian Blue, I'm doing some drawing now. I'm kind of getting some tones and some darkness, some light and darks, warmth and cold, kind of playing off each other a little bit. If you know the theory of color, you'll see that the red and the greens are playing a little bit there. So that's kind of fun. The farmhouse itself was kind of a tan color, so I'm using a yellow ochre, and then I'm hitting it with a very light touch of Indian red. Indian red in my palette is pretty opaque, so I can get a little heaviness, but it blends in with my yellow ochre, which is not as opaque as I like it to be. And if I liked it, I would give the brand name, but we're not going to talk about brand names. In the farmhouse, I'm doing the same thing. I'm hitting a little bit more, I think I threw some alizarin crimson in there, and then I hit the farmhouse with a little Indian red as well for value and shading. Later on, I used my violet for shadowing in this area, and the sheet metal roof is done with a little bit of ultramarine and whatever dirt was in, or whatever paints were dried up in my mixing wells. I get all my grays out of my mixing wells. I like playing with small mixing wells. This may change when I come up and do a 24x36 later. But anyway, that's how you do it. I like to clean my mixing wells and make my grays out of those, and my tones you'll see later on as we get to the end of this. Enjoy this. I'm having a lot of fun, as you can tell. It's very colorful. I think I've succeeded in creating that warmth and that family feeling of comfort and safety, and just that love, the love of a family and the love of a farmhouse. That was the goal, and I can imagine they had many a times walking along the land there, listening to the birds and such. In fact, I think at one point I throw in a little red bird, a single bird. At a point where I want to play with that playfulness and assume there's wildflowers and such, and I represent that with a little bit of a paint splatter along the fence line. You'll see as we come up here. The fence itself is made of ultramarine and burnt umber, and again, whatever's in the paint wells, the mixing wells, where I am mixing the color up. This is a great day to be watercoloring here in Central Florida, I gotta tell you. I mean, Central Quarantineville, USA. Alright, am I done yet? Are we doing this? Are we wrapping it up? No, I haven't done the trees yet. Alright. So, here we go. I'm still kind of obsessing a little bit. There we go, the little splatter technique and putting the color in. And the trees are going to be the last thing we will do. Well, next to the last thing, because after the trees we may throw some shadows later on. But here's a little, just insinuating that we got wildflowers by dropping in some cadmium red, some orange. I think I even threw a little violet in there. I don't know if I did blues, because I don't think there are any blue bonnets in this part of the country where they're in. So, now then, what I've done with the trees, I'm just going to follow along the direction of the branches, and I'm going to hit some water, just clean water, so I can get some of that watercolor wash look in my trees, a little spontaneity. And this is real simple. This isn't the only way to do trees. By gosh, there's a trazillion ways to do trees, and maybe the next time I have to do something like this, we will do a different way of doing trees. Anyway, this is a quick one. I've got a trinity of greens in my palette. I know we can do greens with yellow and blues, but this is because of my small mixing well space and my travel kit. I am going to use the light green is the lightest, the Viridian is the coldest, and sap green is my mid-tone green. And then also the bonus is with that watercolor wash we did at the beginning of the yellow and the pink and the blues, they really play through the transparency of the trees. So you get some value and depth as a bonus there. And it creates a warmth and a coolness in certain areas. So we know that there are other trees in the valley or whatever's behind the landscape, and we know that there's some depth to these trees. And they also kind of help with the cold. I'm using the colder Viridian and maybe even mixed with whatever is in the mixing well of that area of the palette. Really brings out the earth tones of the home and the reds of the barn. And even those accidents we had happen at the very beginning that kind of bled into the white shapes when we were doing our first wash now kind of play out as shadows. Happy accidents. Funny how that happens. And that's the joy of it. I love playing with the accidents. Almost like encouraging myself to make more when I watercolor. It's just fun. So I'm probably touching things up here. Hoping I'm at the end of this pretty soon. Getting this taken care of. Little tidbits of detail and information here. I think the trees look nice and light. I could overwork them to death if I wanted to. And there we go. What a nice gift. What a nice little watercolor. What fun that was.